What's going on YouTube, and welcome to the top 5 weapons in Dark and Darker. Now, I want to say that I don't think anybody, like any single person who plays Dark and Darker, will have the same top 5. If you ask any Dark and Darker player, I highly doubt their top 5 weapons is the exact same. So with that being said, if you feel like I left anything out, maybe completely off the list, or maybe just too high or too low, please let me know down in the comments below why I'm stupid and why that weapon is really disgusting. Let's go ahead and get into it with some honorable mentions. First honorable mention is the Horseman's Axe. It did get a nerf, and I also just feel like Barbarians are in a place right now where they're not at the top of the meta. Personal opinion, I suppose. But the Horseman's Axe is probably their best weapon right now, and it sadly just doesn't make the cut into the top 5. Next up, because we have to talk about it, the recurve bow. Even though the longbow is ridiculous right now and incredibly strong, and people really aren't picking the recurve bow is still good. If they removed the longbow from the game, I feel like people would be complaining about the recurve too. So just because it gets overshadowed and not used as much, let's not forget that this thing is really strong. Final honorable mention, just barely not making the top 5, again, in my opinion, the spear. Now, the spear has crazy reach. It has a really nice attack pattern. It does good damage, and it just allows for such good spacing. It's a straight shot attack. You can use it in hallways. You can use it to pre-poke corners, and it's doing a lot for you. If they ever give us the ability to like rear back and chunk that thing, it will probably be the best weapon in the game. But cracking into the top 5, we have the Stiletto Dagger. Now, I personally think that you could slot like any of the daggers in here, or almost any. I don't think the Chris is that good, but like the Rondell, the Castillon, and the Stiletto, I think could all viably fit here. I just picked my personal favorite. I feel like one of the daggers really needed to be on the top 5. The Castillon slash is nice. The Rondell's stab is nice, but I feel like the Stiletto just kind of separates itself. I'm a massive fan of its attack pattern, and although you are usually pairing it with another dagger, I find it to be the one I use the most. Moving on to number 4, and this is a personal favorite weapon of mine. Like, I have really grown to love this weapon, and it's been a slow process. I was forced to use it a few times. I had a triple kill with it, and then it just kind of became like one of my favorite weapons. And as I started using it more, I noticed more other people using it, and then I noticed people talking about it, and I was like, oh wow, the arming sword is really good. It has a great attack pattern. It does lack a bit in range, but it's doing solid damage. It is probably the weapon on this list that I would call all reliable, right? You can viably take this weapon in on any of the classes that can run it, and you know exactly what you're getting. Bang for your buck. This thing is going toe-to-toe in DPS with some of the best of them, and it's just incredibly easy to hit. Moving on to number 3, what is my personal favorite weapon in the game, and I think sadly does need a bit of a tone down. We have the crossbow. The crossbow could be 2. The crossbow could be... It couldn't be 1, but the crossbow could be 2. You could probably make an argument for crossbow at 2, but I think if you have the crossbow any lower than 2 or 3, then you're just out of your mind. The crossbow is just a high damage, easy to shoot, easy to aim. It doesn't reload that bad. I mean, this thing is a sniper, right? Like, if the windlass was any better, it would probably be the windlass here. But why is it that the windlass just doesn't hold a candle to the regular crossbow? It's because the damage numbers are honestly not that far apart. The crossbow is still an AWP. Like, this thing is still absolutely smacking kids. You have the right modifiers. The crossbow probably is one of the most beneficial weapons for like true physical damage, right? Plus, you know, any physical modifiers on the crossbow feel like they're just kind of doing more, right? I think that goes for a lot of these ranged weapons. When you start stacking damage on these modifiers at range, it gets a little ridiculous, and the crossbow is headshotting for, and we're not even talking like crazy crossbows, like regular crossbows with decent modifiers on your gear are headshotting for like 100 to 120 damage. And you start getting into like these god tier crossbows, and you're looking at like, you know, you have a great set, you have a great crossbow. I mean, we're hitting like the 170, 180s with these headshots. It's really disgusting. Bard and Fighter you just give them range. Now they have range. Now they're playing like a ranger. I don't know why they let us do that. I don't know. I mean, so I guess we have to have some kind of counter, right? Fighter's got to have some kind of counter to those Rangers and Wizards. I guess Bard has to have some kind of way to deal damage, I suppose, besides throwing his drums, which honestly, drums could be an honorable mention, but that's a completely completely different topic. Okay, on to number 2. Now, this one might surprise some people. I might be high on this weapon. Maybe I am. But number 2, I think, is going to be the rapier. Now, rogues seem to love this thing even more than bards do. Now, bards have the rapier perk, and they can run it with the buckler, and it's pretty strong, right? Like rogue or bards really like this rapier, but rogues love this thing. Like, rogues are turning this thing into an absolute monster. I'm pretty sure I remember in one of the earlier patches or one of the earlier playtests, someone did some testing and found it like the rapier was the highest DPS weapon in the game. I don't know if it still is. I'm not a numbers guy, but it feels like it is sometimes. You see people going into dungeons with rapiers, right? And we're not talking the unique, right? We're not talking Viola, I think it's called. That's different, right? But even just a green rapier, blue rapier, purple rapier feel gross. The stab has some range. It's super easy to hit. You can poke over shields. It does have a bit of a skill gap, I would say. I think it's easy to hit, but I've heard people say it's a bit harder. But you're poking over shields, you're stabbing in, creases, the risk of hitting teammates is not very high, which is a massive benefit, right? I feel like a lot of the other weapons, right? Any of the ranged weapons, any of the bigger weapons, you have like a super risk of like smacking a teammate. The rapier feels almost impossible to hit a teammate with. And when you stack all that up, right, it has nice animations, it has high DPS, you have a lot of things that benefit it having high DPS, right? With perks that benefit it and like, rogue skills that really look better on the rapier. It's just a powerhouse in the meta right now. I really do believe it's just a powerhouse in the meta. And coming in number 1, I don't think anybody is surprised with this one. If you are surprised, then please let me know why you're surprised, because this thing is absolutely tearing through the video game right now. The longbow is possibly one of the most broken weapons in Dark and Darker individually that we've had through any of the playtests. The longbow in its current state, with the slow, the range, the damage it's doing, again, like ranged weapons, it kind of feels like stacking damage modifiers on them just feels heavier than other weapons. And while it does make you a little slow, it doesn't really counteract the damage that you're doing. I mean, this thing is piecing people. You are, if you hit them with the first shot and then you go into like a triple shot, right? And that's just ranger, right? Fighter can run the longbow too, and fighters are gross with the longbow. You have a full plate mail, tanky, second wind sprint using monster who's picking at you from across the dungeon. I don't think that should be in the game right now. Like, am I crazy? Am I crazy saying that? Like, I just don't think that should be in the game. And then rangers with their perks that are benefiting it even more, right? Like they have these perks that you can triple shot with the longbow. Longbows are hitting for 100 damage right now. 100. And you're triple shotting, it's whoo, 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 and then that's like 3 shots. If you hit them all, you're getting at least a kill, right? Someone's dead. I don't know. The longbow's broken. The longbow's disgusting. But that's it, guys. That's all for the video. If you disagree with me in any way, please let me know down below. And yeah, guys, I will see you in the next video.